What's going on, you guys? It's Ariel here at the Gamers Respite. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I am welcomed back by another favorite guest of mine and also a really good friend of mine, Gene Park. Gene, welcome back to the podcast. How have you been?
I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there. Having a tough time at work, which is always frustrating. But you know what, Ariel? I am trying to keep a broader perspective, and I'm healthy. I'm alive. I'm talking to you today, and I think that's what's most important. The fact that I can be alive to be frustrated with work is, I think, a true gift. You
That
know.
is wise words. The fact that I can be alive to be frustrated at work, I think that is a perspective that a lot of people need to take, honestly.
It's yeah, and like people know that I've gone I almost died 3 years ago. So like that has really like changed my perspective on a lot of things on life, pretty much everything in life. And so you know, it's a cliche to say every day is a gift, but it truly is. So I truly count my blessings that that the worst part of my life is that I am frustrated with this very good job that I have. So I understand my privilege and I enjoy it. I love it. But right now I'm in a funk. But I'm very happy to be talking to you. And Gamers Respite, that's a great name. I like
Thank
it.
you. Yeah, I was trying to think of something because with how much of a Souls fanatic I am, I wanted to have something to do with like a bonfire type
I
thing.
that that's
So,
exactly that was exactly the image that I just conjured up in my head. I was like, oh, we're gonna stop by. We're gonna heal up, level up, and the enemies will be respawned, but we'll be ready than ever. That's how I feel right now. Like right now the work problems are respawning right now, but this is the respite that I need. So.
oh, that makes me so happy to hear. And honestly, to be cheesy for a second, whenever I see you and you're doing well, it makes me so happy because during the time period that you were sharing the news about, that the fact that you were going into remission, it made me so happy that I got to share and get to share the same timeline as you because and I know people are going to say, Ariel, stop kissing up to him. No, he needs to hear this because people need to know how much they are cared about. I honestly look up to you and your writing and the way that you present yourself so much in this industry. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything you do, really and truly.
Oh, that's really nice. That's really special to hear. I appreciate that. It's
Because it's something really truly special where I can actually like be friends with the people that I look up to and see them and have their love and what they love to do inspire what I do. So it's beautiful. So thank you.
I understand how you feel. You're a content creator, and for me, I've only been covering games for the last 5 years since 2019, 6 years I guess now. Um, and but before that, I was just a fan of so many different content creators. Folks like Wooly and Pat Stares at over at Castle Super Beast. Like I've been watching them since 2008. And now I just count them as friends. And yesterday we just did a stream on Mario Kart World, all on the Switch too, which was amazing. People like Susie the Sphere Hunter, horror game content creator. She was always been one of my favorites. Resident Evil is my favorite series, and now we're just like the best of friends. Like we just talk like every week or so. It's an incredible feeling. So I know how you feel. I feel very lucky to be able to interface with people like them, with people like you. Earlier this week I met Marco Meatball, who does like music, music YouTube and like does like music analysis, and that was like he's an opera singer, so like that's why he's able to kind of like corner that niche of the internet of like opera singer reacts to Expedition 33 music or something like that, and like that's awesome, and he's been a big fan of mine too, and I've been a big fan of his, so it's really nice to kind of like be part of this mix of like really cool and talented people.
Oh, that's really awesome to hear. And it's a thing too of where like I was so intimidated actually like when the first time that we did this podcast, what I think it's like a year or so ago now. Time
Mhm.
flies. And I was so nervous to approach you to ask like, do you want to do a podcast episode? And then it was just like talking to a best friend after that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes I forget that people might be nervous to meet me because I'm just me, and I think that's what a lot of people like struggle with sometimes when they get a platform of note, where they're like, I'm still me though, I still remember who I was before everything happened, Even for me as a journalist, I still when I was a young man, and when I was a college kid. Look, I still remember the day I met a Los Angeles Times photographer, and he was a Pulitzer Prize winner. And like, I couldn't believe I got like he came to class, and this was like the biggest moment of my life to see him. Uh, and then I forget that, like, oh, I'm that guy now, probably. When a young journalist meets me, that happened quite a bit whenever I go to like journalism conventions. You know, I would used to go to journalism conventions to network. I'm a very serial networker. Networking is one of my favorite things to do. Also, one of my least favorite things to do because I realized that I'm actually an introvert, but I learned that very late in life.
Yeah.
So I was like, why am I so tired when I'm always like networking and hanging out with people? I was like, oh, it's because I actually don't like it, but it's like I'm good at it though. So, like, I was having one of those moments at one of these journalism conventions where I'm just like telling my friend, I was like, man, I'm so tired of going to these. I don't want to network with anyone. And then he reminded me, he was like, Gene, like you need to realize that things have changed for you. Like, you're not here to network with anyone. Everyone is here to network with you. And I was like,
Exactly.
oh, that's right. That's even worse, I think.
That's to a degree. That's how I felt when I went to my first preview event for Lies of P, which I can actually talk about
Yes,
now.
yes.
Holy
Yeah, yeah.
shit!
I love to hear about your experience. But yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Ooh,
How do you
no,
feel?
it was tiring because I realized that I can't stand flying at all. Like it's
Oh
just a
yeah.
horrible experience.
Was it your first time flying or something, or?
It was my first time flying, and it was one of those experiences of where I almost had a panic attack on the flight back home because we had a nighttime flight, and that was the most unsettling feeling I've ever had.
Oh,
So it was no
yeah.
fun.
I want to commiserate with you because, I'm from Guam. I'm from the islands, the middle of the Pacific. So I actually got really used to flying at a young age. Like I started flying when I was like 6 or 7. So it was like no problem for me for like a long. Well, when I was a kid, like my ears used to pop and I used to get headaches. So that used to like be extremely painful and traumatic. But like after a couple years, I got really used to it. So I used to go to like Korea all the time. I'm Korean, and a lot of my family is there. So I used to go to Korea all the time. I used to go to California and Hawaii all the time, where I used to live, both of those states. And I really, really enjoyed flying, and I would always look forward to like my vacation or like like, ooh, my next destination, right? As I've gotten older, I've suddenly built up this fear of flying. Like I just out of nowhere, this like massive anxiety over flying, over the realization that you're in a tube, fifty
Yes,
thousand feet in the air,
yes.
like, and then I start thinking, I start spiraling. I'm like, God did not intend this, for us to do this. Think about what the old Victorian people would think of us when we're in our chair flying in the air to the other side of the world. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And also, it doesn't help that there's been so many like plane incidents like recently, especially this past year, especially right here, right down the street from me, where that plane crash happened in DC, where the Black Hawk helicopter crashed into a passenger airplane like over the river, and everyone died in that thing. And I was like, and it was at night, right? So that's terrifying. So like I recently just flew to Orlando to go to Donkey Kong Country World and Super Nintendo World down at Universal Orlando Resort. And it wasn't my first time flying in a while. I actually flew last year too. But I was feeling that again. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm flying. And it's only a 2 hour flight. It's so short. But I still like had so much anxiety, especially after the recent accidents. So like when I booked my flight, I booked it during the daytime because I was like, the pilot better be able to see that goddamn helicopter coming uh, during the daytime because it was at night and it's like they couldn't see the helicopter at all. And these are Black Hawk helicopters. They're meant to be like not seen. So I definitely booked a day trip. I booked it like way early in the morning. I hate waking up early in the mornings, but like I booked it way like 5 6 a.m. just so I can make sure that it's like right early. And then I try to like talk myself down. I'm like, there's any place that's safe to fly out at in, it has to be DC because they're not gonna be flying goddamn helicopters again after that crap happened. So
I was about to say, like, they're not going to make the same mistake twice. You know?
they better not. They better not. So I was like, okay, and it was fine. And but I mean, there was turbulence, and that freaked me out too. And like for me, like I think part of it is sorry to turn you into my therapist now, all of a sudden I can't afford therapy right now,
I do have a
but
psychology degree, so it works out actually.
hey, there you go. Hey, there you go. I'm talking to the right person then. I'm at the right respite.
And how do you feel about that,
I
Gene?
think I think as I've gone older, and especially since my recent cancer journey, like I've gotten more attached to life. I have a deeper appreciation for it. I don't want to risk it. I don't want to lose it. The worst thing that could happen to me is surviving cancer and then dying in a plane crash. That would be the worst thing. I would hate that. So.
That would just be life smacking you across the face. Like, that's the most insulting thing that could happen.
Yeah, or just some random freak accident, and I probably talked about my past as a journalist before here, but I used to be a crime journalist too. So I've covered so many freak accidents, and doing so has really warped my brain into what kind of dangers there could be in life. A car accident or just something falling out from the sky or something like that. Like these are all things that I've seen happen to people, and I'm like, it's gonna happen to me someday. Come on, that's how I feel. So I've almost become like almost agoraphobic. I guess I think that's the word in a way where I feel safest when I'm at home. Like right now, there's a military parade for Trump and the army here in DC, and I'm like, there's no way
Oh,
I'm going outside right now.
no.
So.
No, just
Yeah,
staying
there's just
in.
way too much going on in life right now. But yeah, but long way to say I totally feel you. Flying sucks, but congratulations on make it. Um, I hope it makes the next time easier. Take some anxiety meds maybe, because that helped me for a bit.
That,
Um,
that's what I'm probably going to do because I it was my mom actually went with me because since it was my first time flying, she didn't want
oh,
me to
that's
go by
great. That's
myself.
great.
So
That's great. Yeah.
I was so happy because I feel like I'm in such a fortunate place right now that I can actually like take her to an event and show her my work and show her like what I do and everything. Like it just makes
That
me
is a
feel so
blessing.
happy. Yeah.
That is awesome. That is awesome. While I was sick, my parents visited me, and I really insisted that they see the newsroom because I want them to show my work. I want them to show them what they produce and the kind of career their son has made. So that's wonderful. And it's a part of my fear of flying is because I fly so much on my own. Like before, I was with my parents or I'd be with my girlfriends or whatever. Now it's just like flying by my own, and it's like I'm just by myself. I don't feel safe by myself.
Yeah, and I know that, I want to go to other events and everything. I know when I got down and I landed in Los Angeles, I loved my time there. Los Angeles was wonderful. It was probably some of the most fun I've had traveling because I got to meet other friends that I only just knew online and everything. Like Danny Pena, I got to see him and I got to interact with, what was it, Maximilian. Meeting him was such a blast.
Man,
Like,
Maximilian, dude.
such a sweet guy.
That's amazing. See,
Yeah.
I haven't even met him yet. See, so you're already racking up experience points that I haven't gotten to yet. So.
It was a wonderful experience, and the fact that I could use some of the Korean that I learned with the crew of Lies of P, like that to me was just such a
Oh,
wonderful
you know Korean?
experience. I know a little bit of Korean, yeah, and I got to introduce myself,
Oh,
and I got to get to see their reaction, which was
반갑습니다. Yeah,
안녕하세요. 저는
yeah.
에리얼입니다. 좀 반갑습니다.
See, I don't even know what the hell you just said. So.
It's like, hi, it's nice to meet you. My name is Ariel. Like I
Yeah, yeah,
was
yeah,
I was
yeah,
going into there like fully like I want to be able to utilize what I've learned.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I always start off my Japanese interview devs speaking a little bit of Japanese because I know very shikoshi little Japanese because I went to school for it, and then I just stopped learning it. And so that's the worst part. and you're just not in an environment where you can just use your language. Same as Korean. I don't really learn Korean. The most Korean I learned was from my Korean ex-girlfriend, and she would just, and so unfortunately, most of the words I know are liar and you sack of shit, like things like that, things that she would call me, So I
Oh
was
no.
never a liar. She was the liar. She was she was gaslighting me. I wish I knew the Korean word for gaslighting.
Oh my god. You know what? That honestly, like, that is just pure comedy right there. The fact that she would use those words against you. Yeah, use those words against the journalist. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Like the one who actually like has to dig up the truth and look up things, you know?
Yeah. But that's cool though. Yeah, I definitely start off my Japanese dev interviews with some Japanese, and that really like opens up a connection there that might have not been there in the first place. So like, as a Korean, if I saw you coming up to me and you start speaking Korean, if I was one of the Lazy P devs, I would be very impressed and I would be more warmer to you as a result. So that was a very smart move. Good networking skills. That is excellent networking skills right there.
Thank you.
For sure.
It was
Yeah.
so awesome to get to do that too, because like they had a Q&A section that we were doing after we played two of the demos, and it was so fun to get to see everyone's questions and the way that they were formulating stuff, because you could tell that a lot of the people who were content creators there were asking very content driven types of questions, and the journalists there were asking more in-depth, like pinpointed questions about the game. So it was very interesting to see that diversity
Mhm.
of question there. But another thing I thought that was really unique was that getting to see the culture in Los Angeles felt so similar to Manhattan, because I'm so close to Manhattan, and that's a place that I've been around ever since I was a kid. So for me, it made
Oh,
me
we should
miss
hang out. I
home.
go to New York all the time, so
Dude,
it's it's.
I'm going to be going there like October 18th after my birthday.
All right,
Because
we'll
yeah,
talk later. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. No, it's one of those things too of where like I've missed the city so much, and seeing the palm trees and going there and actually like getting to see the culture there. It was really immersive. It was awesome. So yeah, it was
I
a
love
good
LA.
trip.
It's LA is my favorite city in the world. So, well, not actually, not really. It's Seoul, but LA
I
is
need
my
to go
favorite
to
American
Seoul.
city. So,
I need to go to
LA
Seoul.
is.
I see the food and I just want all of it.
Oh, Seoul is a different planet altogether, and it's wonderful. The mass transit is great. I sometimes look at the crap that our country is going through, and I'm like, why am I not like in the motherland? Why am I like amongst my people? Like, my beautiful, beautiful people. I should just be with them with their beautiful faces and their wonderful skincare products and their really strong
Dude,
healthcare system.
the skincare is incredible. I've adopted the 7-step skincare method for the Korea skincare, and it has changed my life. It's made me pay my bills on time. It's a blessing,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
Like,
And the great thing is that like most of the cosmetic and skincare industry, like almost half of it is by men. A lot of men engage in that stuff, and that's why so many of the men are beautiful. Um, that's the funny thing about Korea is that when you go and watch like their soap operas and their dramas, like usually when you go to countries like when you watch a country's like TV and you see all of their dramas and everyone's so beautiful and it's like okay, well that doesn't really reflect reality. And then you go to Korea and it's like you walk around and it's like, oh, everyone really looks like this. That's crazy.
so I do actually want to say, I know that we've gotten so many tangents so far, but I want to be able to start off on the first topic with you. Is what, and I know it's a bit of like a cliche, like overdone topic, but I really want to know of what you can talk about. What are you playing right now?
Oh, I'm playing Death Stranding too. Can't talk about that at all. But I am definitely playing the hell out of it and having. I think I could say I'm having a good time. Because it's Kojima and Death Stranding, and I'm such a huge fan of the first game. So it's very nice to be able to finally play the second game. If another thing I'm happy to be alive for is to be able to play Kojima's latest masterpiece. And while I was sick, he actually emailed me and said he wished me well and said that he really enjoyed our first conversation and that he was really looking forward to our next one. So that meant a lot to me. So playing that right now. And I'm playing Stellar Blade on PC. That just came out a couple days ago, and I'm super enjoying it on the Steam Deck. It runs extremely well. I know it just came out last year, but the music just made me nostalgic for last year. Uh, it's just really really fun action game. Um, that's about it, really. And just dabbling with the Switch 2 here and there. I actually haven't played too much of the Switch 2. Way less of the Switch 2 than I like because of like Death Stranding 2 and just like a lot of work stuff going on. But once that's over, I'm really looking forward to just diving back into the Switch 2 and just really going back to old games
Xenoblade.
and huh?
And Xenoblade.
Oh yeah, well the Xenoblade 2, but I fired those games up and they haven't had too many upgrades that they're stable 30 FPS, but they're still very low resolution, so they're very long games. They're anywhere from 50 to 100 hours long, depending on how much you put into. So it's like, well, I've been hankering to replay them, but with that time commitment, I think I'll wait for a significant upgrade, a Switch 2 upgrade that I'm sure has to be coming. It's just not here yet. So maybe Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom looks incredible, and that game is always fun to mess around with. So I might try that again, or Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity, which runs well now.
But yeah, the other thing. So currently, what I'm playing right now is I'm going back into some old favorites, some stuff I can't talk about, but also one that I always revisit around this time whenever I see that Resident Evil is popping off right now is Resident Evil 1 Remake, because that was the first game I ever played in my existence. So
Really?
yeah,
No kidding.
yeah, I love it.
Wow, that's a hell of a game to start with. Wow.
Yeah, I started around like 10 or 11, and it was around the time of like, I think it was my birthday that my dad got me a GameCube, and he was like, I want to see what the graphics are on this. And my mom was like, you want her to see zombies. And I'm just like, I want to see zombies. So he sat
That's
down with
funny.
me and he played Resident Evil 1 Remake with me, and it was absolutely amazing. So.
Yeah, no, I think dads are going to be a huge influence on the current generation and future generations of kids playing video games. That's really funny that, I don't have kids of my own, but if I had kids, I'd be like, here you go, son. Here's Death Stranding.
Right. Right. No,
You
it's so
know,
fun too because like whenever he saw how much I loved it, I don't think he expected that it would turn into a career though.
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that's what I'm currently playing right now. I'm playing some Stardew Valley. I'm playing more along the lines of like cozy games because right now I think my brain has just been so all consumed with work and everything that those downtime games are so valuable. Like Cozy Grove, that is my go-to just relax and replenish game.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
wonderful.
Death Stranding is a cozy game for me, and also Resident Evil too. The Resident Evil games are very cozy, especially again, it's my favorite series, and yeah, all the RE9 hype has been making me want to replay 7 and 8. Especially 8 since I never actually played their new third person camera mode. I fiddled with it for a little bit. I was like, oh, that's cool, and then I just like left it alone. So I think like this is a really good reason, especially since we now know that Resident Evil 9 is both first and third person. Like it'll just be fun to just kind of play Village again, and that's a great game, and just go back to it and have a good time. But yeah, I'm always in a Resident Evil mood. It's my favorite series of all time, and for me, that's like cozy games for me are Dark Souls and Resident Evil. Because especially if I know where things are, like I like just doing the process of just finishing the game. Like, okay, I get the red key here, I get this key here, I open this door here. Like that just makes me feel my brain feels so smooth and good.
It's just like the
But Death Stranding also
organization
is.
of it too, you
Yeah.
know? It's like the organization of it too. Like you said, like you know where
Yes.
things are. It's just like, okay, I know what to do. I can just like kind of zone out and relax to this.
Yes, exactly. But Death Stranding also is like my Stardew Valley. I like just collecting stuff and delivering stuff and getting the likes. So it's always very relaxing for me too. So
Wait, I do have
yeah,
to
I'm already playing my cozy game right now.
I do
So
have to ask though. So who is your favorite character in Death Stranding, the first one?
other than Sam, think Hartman might be a favorite. You know,
I love Hartman. He's my
yeah, everything
favorite.
about him is so unique and interesting. The fact that he has to die every 21 minutes and then come back to life every 3 minutes is so funny and so cool. Um, it's such an interesting interesting character mechanic. So yeah, I think he's definitely my favorite. Not Death Stranding is not a game with too many characters. Interestingly enough, it just it's like a stage play with just a few bit players. And but that's kind of why I like it so much.
But I actually wanted to talk a bit about Night Rain with you because is it
Sure.
just me, or are we seeing that shift of where people are more excited for what the base games are than what the expansions are? Because I don't know about you, but I didn't see too much hype going on around Night Rain the way I did about Elden Ring.
No, not at all. And the reason why is because it's and I haven't played it since the new update where they improved the solo, right? But even if the solo is improved, vastly improved, and is very playable now, it's very antithetical to I think what a lot of Souls people enjoy about about those games is the world building. That we love the environments. So when I'm playing Night Rain, and there's this mechanic where the map will change. That part of the map will change depending on, I guess, whatever. But like the map will completely dynamically change into like one of four other types of biomes, right? So I go into the map and I'm in the volcano area and I'm looking around. I'm like, oh my god, wait, there's these like ruins over there on the side, right? What's over there? And I realize, oh crap, the Fortnite the cycle is the circle is closing in, so I don't have time to even admire the architecture of the ruins, let alone explore it. You know, because you're just being rush. The game is all about just like flying across the map and just like, okay, let me do this, let me do this. Like we think we talk about Resident Evil and like the how cozy it feels to just do certain things, and Nightwing can be that, but like you have to do it so fast. You're sprinting across the map. You're doing this. You're doing this. Okay, I wasted too many times. 2 minutes. I can't do that right now. Um, so I think that kind of defeats a lot of what made Elden Ring especially special because it's such a vast world that you want to just take in very very slowly and consciously. And Night Rain doesn't allow you to do that at all. It's a multiplayer game, so.
And that's the thing. That's one thing that worried me about Night Rain was that even during the network test, I was telling people as long as the soul of what Elden Ring is maintained throughout what Night Rain's kind of compass is that directs the player, then it shouldn't be a problem. But what I'm noticing is that they're taking kind of the Fortnite guide and turning it, but making it Elden Ring, you know? So
Mhm.
for me, I don't find that entertaining. I haven't played it after the network test because, one, I haven't felt a drive to want to, but other than that, I'm just worried that Elden Ring is going to lose itself in the popularity of it instead of what it's actually meant to do.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I agree. I think but it's clearly like an asset reuse game. So it's like this is just a way for them to make extra cash and just play around with it. You might think hopefully that FromSoft would take some of the lessons from here and apply it to Duskbloods, the Switch 2 exclusive. That's also multiplayer. But one thing I know about FromSoft is that they don't really learn lessons sometimes. And especially since they have different teams working on things, like those teams don't communicate with each other. So we'll see. Duskbloods is the Miyazaki focused one. That's the one that he has hands-on production on. So it might be different. It might be interesting. Night Rain's still cool, and I was thinking about going back to it, but right now it's just way too busy with Death Stranding 2 and everything. So
Yeah,
it's a really
understandable.
really busy time with games right now.
It really is.
It's there's just too much to play. I'm even talking to my mom about it. And she's like, "There's so much to play right now." I was like, "I know. It's not. It's actually kind of not fun." You know.
Yeah, because you have to choose between so many different types. I mean, when there was a period of when you had Expedition 33, Doom the Dark Ages, Night Rain,
Mhm,
you have so much that's going on. And you have also Mind's
mhm.
Eye that came out, if I'm correct. Did that come
Yeah,
out
yeah, yeah. I'm
recently?
not playing that, but
Like, oh my god. It's just,
but
there's
yeah,
just so
yeah.
much.
it sucks because like I'm glad that you brought up Expedition 33 and Doom Dark Age is coming up because it's like obviously I love Expedition 33. It's a fantastic game, easy game of the year so far. Um, but I didn't want to play it because I wasn't in the mood for a turn-based RPG. I wasn't in the mood for a fantasy RPG. You know what I was in the mood for? Just Devil May Cry, man. The
Yeah, right.
Netflix show came out and it wasn't that good, but it did remind me about what I love about the show or what I love about the games. So I got really heavy into the Devil May Cry mood. So I just really wanted to just play old games, and like, those are most of my cozy games too. And I just couldn't play it because here's a code for Expedition 33. I was like, oh, fine, I'll play it. I'll play that. And then like it took me like 5 hours for me to be like, oh, okay, this game is really good. I'm having a good time. But like it still disrupts like what I actually want to do, which is just settle down and just play the games I want to play. So that's I'm definitely becoming more disenchanted with the job because I definitely don't enjoy games the way I used to, and I miss that.
That's
I don't
that's
like it.
fair though. I mean, the thing is that after you've experienced something for so many years and it kind of becomes the same song and dance, after a while you get kind of jaded with
Mm.
it. So I mean, that's completely understandable. It's one of those moments of where it's like games can be fun, but they have to really pull you in order to make it appealing or make it worth your time to a degree.
Mhm. Yeah, and then I finished with Expedition 33, and I'm like, oh great, now I can do New Game Plus. And then Doom: The Dark Ages came in. I'm like, oh my
Right.
god, so I gotta play this, and it was also an excellent game. I loved it, but like now I was in the mood for Expedition 33 time. This is why you don't really see book critics like cover every single type of book. That's why like when there's a book critic, they're like, oh, I do nonfiction or I do fantasy because it's like you have to immerse yourselves in these worlds, and it would just be manic if you have to read like Jake Tapper's book about Joe Biden one day, and then like suddenly you hop into this young adult book about how to train your dragon or whatever the next day. Like that doesn't make any sense, and that's kind of like what video game criticism is right now. It's like Expedition 33 is very like somber and insightful RPG, and then the next day I have to play Doom: The Dark Ages, which is like like blood and guts and shield throwing Captain America style, and it's like it's just not a healthy way to like to have my brain like work like this. It's just not fun.
Can we just talk about the fact that like Captain America only wishes he were the Doom guy? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, I
Uh,
think I think it's unhealthy to the extent of where people like us who are in the field who are working and doing this for a living, that's when it becomes unhealthy. The consumer has the choice of, oh, I just want to play this or I want to play a little bit of this. I don't have to finish the entire game. It has been such a long time for me that I have not finished a game that I pick up. Like when I was younger, I used to just like drop games here and there and not finish them and like do all that kind of thing. But when I really got into
mhm,
the profession and I became like a journalist and did all this stuff for a living, it was like, oh shit, now I gotta sit down and think about every aspect of the game and how it connects and all these different things. It's a great way to exercise your brain, but it's also exhausting.
yeah.
Like, for example, there's a review that I'm working on currently right now. I recently finished all three of the Mass Effect games, and I wanted to do an op-ed on it because I thought, you know what, there hasn't been a really like deep dive piece lately into these games, and I thought, what stands out about these games the most, but also why is it bad at the same time? Because the first one,
Mhm.
in my opinion, does not hold up whatsoever. The controls are
That's
bad.
my favorite one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's the one I wish the whole trilogy was based on. Yeah. I wish the whole trilogy was like the first game. I think that the series just gets worse and worse the longer it went on.
You see, the second one for me was okay. It wasn't there, but it was okay. The third one for me was by far the best because it closed
That's
things
interesting.
off. Yeah, it closed things off for me in a way where I thought, all right, Garrus, the characters, Shepard, they all maintained like their kind of like the synchronicity that they started off with. But the one redeeming quality that I find about these games is how they were written in the fact of you can actually choose how the story goes. That was absolutely brilliant, and it cannot be replicated. Why? Because it will look like they are copying Mass Effect if they do.
Hmm. Also, it was really hard. It was they BioWare wrote themselves into a corner because in the first game, one of the best characters could just die, you know, and then the rest of the trilogy is just without that awesome character, you know, if you decided to save that, you know. Um, there was a way where you can just have Shepard as the only surviving member in part three, but who would want that, you know? Why would you want to do that? That's stupid. So it's like I think also it hasn't been replicated because it's also kind of stupid, you know? Like you shouldn't be having characters that the players can just choose and work with, and that's way too much work for I think the developer realized that's just way too much work for a bunch of things that people will never see, you know?
That's
And
another thing, yeah. The fact that
yeah,
all of it is entirely missable if the player chooses not to do it.
exactly. So that's why like when they released data that like most people didn't choose the renegade option, that informed the rest of the industry. Oh, so we should just stop doing the good and bad option because no one's even choosing the bad option anyways, right? So that's why you barely see games like that anymore because it's just kind of a waste of time and money because most people don't really engage with that system the way they wanted to, you know. Um, and also the Mass Effect games weren't that popular when you actually look at the grand scheme of things. Like they were huge like back when I was growing up. Like I call it Mass Effect. Like this is video games like Harry Potter or like Lord of the Rings. Like this is like our trilogy. This is like the massive like epic, right? Then when I saw the sales, I was like, wow, that's really tiny sales in comparison to how big I thought Mass Effect was. So I kind of understand why BioWare has been kind of floundering for the last few years, trying to figure their way out because the data they learned from Mass Effect didn't really give them a lot of good information. So
Well, the thing too is like they came out with one of the best games, in my opinion at least, was Dragon Age Inquisition. I mean, I played that, and then I played Trespasser afterwards. But the only reason why I even played those games was because Veilguard was my introduction into the series. And
interesting.
yeah, and that was interesting for me because hands down, without a doubt, my opinion, Solus was the leading character for
Oh,
Veilguard.
totally,
Just
totally.
best written, well done. They carried that
Yes.
character to the nth degree. And the thing is that that's the only reason. This is might be a hot take for a lot of people, but that's the only reason why Veilguard is really good, is because of Solus and the way his character was written. The thing is that with
That's why it was
Veilguard,
called
yeah,
Dragon Age the Dread Wolf, and they should have just kept it that way, you know. But
exactly, yeah, and that's the thing too of
I,
where
I like
like,
the game too. I'm a
yeah,
Dragon Age Veilguard defender.
yeah,
I thought
same.
the game was not bad. I definitely think that it was designed like Bloomberg Jason Schreier just came out with a story about how it was just held down by the initial fact that it was a live service game, right? You can feel that in Veilguard, and when you see these maps, they're like, well, like why is this map like an Overwatch map? It's because it was supposed to be a multiplayer game. Like why is nobody? Why can't I talk to anybody in this game? It's because it was a multiplayer game. You don't talk to people in a multiplayer game. You talk to your cooperative friend. So the fact that they had to restart the whole project and just like take the bones of whatever they had there, like okay, let's try to retrofit it into the single player game. They really tried and they did a decent job, but you can definitely tell like oh man, this game was really held back by live service. So when you go back to Inquisition, like what was that experience like when you
Whole
went back to Inquisition? 'Cause I love Inquisition. Inquisition is a great game.
it
So
it was so fascinating to see because it has to be the one of the only games besides Bloodborne where I enjoyed the side quests. I'm not a side quest person the majority of the time. The
mm,
game really has to hook me in for it to do that. So when I played the side quest, I found myself going back, literally going after I have work for the day all done, having a cup of tea and just enjoying the side quests of Inquisition. It was that good. I mean, Solus's character. Listen, I have a bone to pick with Solus. Okay, like that asshole.
we all do.
Okay, he
Yeah,
just
yeah,
no.
yeah.
I finally understand why people have such a love hate relationship with him because he is one of the best morally gray characters I've seen that is written as an enemy. Like he's not bad, he's not good. He wants to do things the right way, but also he could give a shit about everybody else. Like
I, I completely agree with you that with that, and it's very easy to see why he became such a polarizing but like beloved character. You
Yeah.
know,
It's such a good story. And then I played Trespasser after that, and god damn, the tears flew. They flowed. They flew right out of my face, and it was.
oh yeah, yeah. You had all that context from Veilguard too, which is interesting. So it's almost like you were playing like a prequel to Veilguard, but Veilguard also gave you like a lot of that backstory too, you know, and contextualized a lot of what you saw in Inquisition. That's an interesting way to go about it. So, but it's good that the story still had an impact on you. So
It
that's
did. It made me very emotional, honestly. Like,
yeah.
I love whenever games can make me just start to bawl my eyes out because that's when I know that it's a keeper. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a beautiful thing.
I remember feeling that with Inquisition, and then when I that's why I ended up liking Veilguard because like when I got to the end, that's when like the writing started to get really good because like you can tell that the BioWare was finally getting to the part where they had that part locked in, like whether it was the live service or the single player service, like they had that part fleshed out. And then so when you get to that story part, you're just like, oh, finally, like everything's happening and you're seeing everything resolve with Solus, and it's like, oh, so like this, like I'm enjoying this finishing very strong. So
And
that's a good
even
impression.
and there's even like the warning for spoilers, you guys. But there's a part where and it's completely optional, which I wish it weren't optional. I wish every player who went through Veilguard did like a Mass Effect thing of where you could actually go into this part. But they have a choice at the beginning of the game that if you romanced Solus, you can actually redeem him. And I thought that that was such a cool aspect of the game of where you can. I think it was Mithril. You can find Mithril's soul and you can redeem him through that with the Inquisitor. And I thought, oh my
Yeah.
god, this is like this is 10 years in the making. What is this? It's beautiful.
It's great. It's great. It's very beautiful. 10 years in the making, but then you see how hard that was to pull off because Bioware had to account for so many people's different choices and experiences. That was a huge problem for them. Like that is a huge stumbling roadblock. So like for me, like I'm actually kind of like anti-choice in video games now. You know, I feel like if you want to write it, this is why I hate video game romances because it's always optional. You know, I like video game romances when they're written as a romance. You know, when the writers say these two characters are in love and I'm gonna write it this way, as opposed to I guess the player might like this one, so let's see how this goes. I hate that. I hate that. You know, that's not how relationships go. And first of all, you know.
But then you have Garrus, and he is just like this giddy, like sarcastic guy, and it's just like, you know what, ladies, get yourself a Garrus, don't get yourself a Solus, okay?
Yeah. Form an orderly queue for Garrus for sure. You know, sometimes there's just a straight up winner, and it
Yeah.
was Garrus the whole time. So
Yeah, no, the way my heart broke whenever Garrus died at the end, oh my god, like I that was from my own fault, but it was just like, god damn, why do you have to go like that? You know, so it's very interesting how a lot of games can not only trigger the emotions, but it can trigger a sense of if you didn't make the right choice, instant regret. Like you have that little thing inside you where it's just like, oh, I should have done that differently.
mhm.
So, but one of the next topics I actually want to go into is the Xbox handheld. Now, there's so many different thoughts revolving around this. A lot of people are saying, well, it's just, the Rogue Ally, but, now this is an Xbox, I want to know your thoughts on what you think of the release of that, and do you think it is going to be as big as any of the other handhelds that we've seen come out?
It's absolutely not going to be as big as the other handhelds. That thing is going to be expensive, and the only reason why we know that it's going to be expensive is because the regular versions of the ROG Ally are very expensive, and to make the Xbox version cheaper than that would be an insult to everybody who actually bought the ROG Ally at the beginning. Like, you would not want it to be cheaper than that, and it won't be because it's an expensive product and it should be priced accordingly. Um, but I mean, look, man. Like you look at the Switch 2. The Switch 2 made the amount of sales that PC handhelds have made for the past few years in a single day. You know, in one day, the Switch 2 made this sold just as much as the entire PC handheld market in the last few years. The PC handheld market is very niche, so it's interesting that Xbox try to like kind of carve its own path there. I think it's good, and I like it. I love handheld gaming, and I recently only realized why I love handheld gaming so much, and it's because I grew up on Guam. And on Guam, we would almost never having electricity was always a chance. Like maybe we'll have electricity today, Um, so growing up in an environment where I might not have any electricity or lights on, um, made me realize, oh, the Game Boy is my favorite gaming device because I can just go to the store and buy a battery and just play video games without having to have electricity. So for me, I feel safest with a video game when the entire thing is in my hand, not on a TV or a box or a PC. When the game and the console and the screen all together are just in my hand, that is to me security. You know, I feel safe. I have this game. Um, so so when I see an Xbox handheld, I'm like, oh, I totally want that. That said, it's not a really an Xbox handheld. Part of why I love Xbox is because I love the backwards compatibility that they have on the console side. The fact that I can play Fable 1 or Fable 2, not even Fable 1 because Fable 1's on Steam, but Fable 2 and Fable 3, which are still locked to the consoles and never saw a PC release. Um, those are awesome games, and I can't play them on the Xbox ROG Ally, unless I emulate them, via Windows or whatever. But I can't play my old Xbox save, and they keep crying about play anywhere. And it's like, okay, well, I can't play anywhere my Fable games. How about my save from Gears of War 2 and 3, which are still also not on PC? I can't play that on Xbox ROG Ally, because it won't play Xbox games. Ninja Gaiden 2, the original version, not the Ninja Gaiden 2 Black that just came out this past year or so. I prefer the original version of Ninja Gaiden 2 on Xbox 360, and I have that on my Xbox Series X, but I can't play that on the Xbox ROG Ally. You know, Original Xbox One games, like Advent Rising or Otogi, the original FromSoft game for Xbox. Those aren't on PC. Those are on my Xbox, and I can't play that on my Xbox handheld. So I would love the handheld for review. This is like very like first world like privileged like like elitist games journalist stuff. I would love to have one for review, but I will never buy one because it would just be too expensive and it won't do what I want it to do.
That
Which is
is,
play Xbox games.
yeah, that is exactly how I feel about the Nintendo Switch. Exactly how I feel. Not because the console's expensive, but because the games, excuse my French, but fuck the price of the games. I'm not playing $80 to $90 for a game. I'm not like there's types.
Not $90. Don't
Like,
spread that misinformation. It's not $90. There's
oh,
no
it's not
$90
90.
game.
Wait, how much
There's
is
no
it?
$90 game.
I
It's
didn't know
$80.
that.
It's one game. It's Mario Kart. That's it.
Oh, it's only okay. So wait a second. Why am I hearing that? Okay, now
For
it's time
some
to
reason, a
dispel the
bunch of games
rumors.
journalists for some reason a bunch of games journalists repeated the $90 lie for a long, long time, and they still do it. But that's not true at all. There's only one game, and it's $80, and it's Mario Kart.
I did not even know. I see, you guys. That is misinformation that takes over. That is unbelievable. I did not even know that. Wow, I really appreciate you setting that straight because honestly, for the longest time, I thought that that was going to be the case.
No, no, no. Everyone keeps saying physical games $90. That's not the case at all. People saw $90 euros and it says, "Oh my God, the games are $90," and it's like, no, that's in Europe. That's it.
Oh my gosh, that is so wow, damn. You see, like even me who looks up stuff and has my due diligence with everything, I get sucked in by it too. That is unbelievable. I'm kind of shocked
Yeah,
by that right now, actually.
one game $80, and there'll probably be more games that are $80. But look, the games industry has been like remember that industry analyst that says games are going to be $100 or whatever, right? He's only speaking what the games industry does not want to say. But I know for a fact that there are the publishers and developers that you love. They want their games to be sold at $100. $80 is still too cheap for people. But they want it to be $80 is the first shot, but they want to sell these games for $90 and $100 guaranteed. $80 is a compromiser here. So
Yeah, so
and
let's dive into
Nintendo
this.
is taking the lead because look at like, again, look at how much the Switch 2 sold. Um, they'll take the lead because they're too popular to fail. They're not going to do that. But Outer Worlds 2, which was just announced for $80 on Xbox, like that's not gonna like if that was the first $80 game, like that's gonna be such a huge blowback to that game initially, right? So
Right. And now that I think about it, even Call of Duty was selling like some of its editions for well over $100. So I mean,
absolutely,
it isn't a new thing, and I actually do have to apologize to my viewers. I should have done the research beforehand, so I do apologize for that. But it's one of those things too of where, you know, it is a console of where I still have like a Switch Lite and my Animal Crossing version of my Switch. So I'm very content there. I'm probably going to use those things until I run them into the ground and then at some point try out a Switch too. But it's one of those moments of where I would much prefer getting a Steam Deck over a Switch because I've never tried a Steam Deck before.
oh totally. Look, I said that I won't buy the Xbox handheld because I can't afford it. I couldn't afford a Switch 2. I would have loved to have pre-ordered it myself because I don't want to have the only console I have be the one that the company gave to me. Ethically, I want to buy the console itself separately. So that's why I have PS5s because they sent me a PS5. I bought my own, and then I have a PS5 Pro. So like now I'm like I can't afford another PS5 Pro. So like I'm just gonna have to use it as the company one. But it's why I bought another Xbox Series X, and so that's why like for the Switch 2, I'm gonna buy another Switch 2 just because I don't want to ethically just have the company just give me these systems. I want to be able to buy them and just buy them on my own. But right now I can't afford it. So this is a work Switch 2 that I have. But I did buy a Steam Deck on my own completely. I didn't get it for review. I just wanted to buy it on my own, and yeah, I mean, like I'm the biggest Nintendo mark. I'm wearing the Donkey Kong shirt. The Nintendo is my favorite company, but the Steam Deck is definitely a better platform because it has limitless amount of games. I can play Stellar Blade on it right now.
Oh
That's
wow,
incredible.
that's
So
amazing.
I can play Stellar Blade, Lies of P Overture, Resident Evil Village, even Black Myth Wukong on it. It's an incredible little system.
Yeah, that's something that I'm
Um,
so excited to, purchase at some point because the amount of indie games that I play, the amount of just like smaller titles that I just want to be able to sit down, relax in my bed, just chill the end of the day and just experience. Like, I don't want to have to turn on my entire computer just to play Liza P. Overture or Cyberpunk 2077. you
Yeah,
know?
and the Steam Deck plays Liza P Overture beautifully. I played the whole thing on Steam Deck. Cyberpunk runs pretty well, although the Switch 2 version is better than the Steam Deck version, or the one that you can play on Steam Deck. So the Switch 2 is very, very powerful. It is more powerful than the Xbox Series S. It's just kind of there. So
Now, I have a question for you. In regards to the Switch 2, I know that there's a newer Pokemon game that is coming out. Do you think that the graphics and the playability is going to be along the lines of what we were seeing in past generations? Or do you think, obviously, with the improvement of the Switch 2, those games will be improved as well?
hopefully they'll be improved. Yeah, I think so. Right now, Scarlet and Violet has been upgraded. So that's one of the special games that did get an upgrade patch, and it looks stunning. It looks like a whole new game. Uh, that is probably the game that I want to revisit the most on the Switch too, which is annoying because I'm just so busy right now. But like I love Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I thought it was a great game. That ran like absolute trash. Like, and I'm not someone who cares about performance at all. Like I'll play a game at 20 FPS, no problem. But it was so stuttery and inconsistent on the Switch too that it actually made me nauseous. But I played the whole game. I completed the whole thing because I love the game so much. So to see it in with such clarity, and you can see Pokemon all the way in the back like now, and it's running perfectly at 60 FPS. It's crazy. So that is a game that I definitely want to revisit. I never played the DLC too, so I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, hopefully, and then we saw in the Xbox recent show, Game Freak has a whole other game that looks great, and it's like you can tell that they're capable. It's just that they're just kind of like locked into Pokemon minds to make these games every year, and it's like, okay, just give them some time and some technology, and like maybe they'll make something interesting and new finally. You know.
What I really want to see, and I will literally give my entire soul to Game Freak if they do this, is if they end up putting up the old school, what was it, Pokemon Crystal, Red,
Hmm.
Blue, like those remasters. They will have everyone in the palm of their hand if they do that because they're such beloved titles. I mean, especially Green, like they would do so well with it. I think that's what a lot of people want because we are in the era of remasters and remakes. I think we're slowly getting out of that currently with Silent Hill F and Requiem. But there are certain remakes and remasters that I think would do well to be in the current day. Like Silent Hill 1 getting a remake is absolutely incredible. I never thought I would see the day that that would happen. That's actually the next topic I want to dive into because seeing that game for the past 20 years be in this little bubble of untouchableness, if you will, and then seeing the Blubber team take the dive and just say, you know what, we're going to remake this. What are your thoughts on that?
I am mixed on the Silent Hill remakes. Most importantly, because I hate that Konami has not re-released the originals in any shape or form. That is bad for preservation. That is bad for art. I think that the original visions of the game should be preserved and proliferated, and the remake should not be replacing the originals whatsoever. You know, the reason why I have no problem with Resident Evil 4 remake is because Resident Evil 4 original is one of the most widely available games of all time. You know, it's on every platform, so that's no issue whatsoever. Silent Hill 2 is trapped on the last gen systems, PS3 and Xbox 360. I have the enhanced edition that was modded out on my Steam Deck, and I love that version. And that's not Konami at all. I had to hack my Steam Deck to make it work and everything like that. Um, the fact that Silent Hill 1 is not replayable. I haven't played Silent Hill 1 in like 20 years. That sucks. I wish I could play. Like I'm gonna have to probably dive back into my Steam Deck to try to emulate that again right now, just to be able to play it and revisit that. So I am not a fan of these remakes being an attempt to replace the originals. It's not good. That's anti-art, and and that's what makes that's what makes me mixed on these remakes because the Silent Hill 2 remake, I enjoyed it, but it fundamentally changed what the original Silent Hill 2 was about. You know,
Interesting. Okay. Interesting.
um, because the camera perspective was the whole point of the original game. And to to put it over the shoulder, you just made it like Resident Evil. You made it like another action game, right? When you know I point this out in my review. This is very early in the game, so this is not a spoiler. But when you first find a flashlight in the apartments, right, in Silent Hill 2, it's on a mannequin, right? You remember that part?
Yeah, I remember that part.
In the original Silent Hill 2, that room is staged so the mannequin is facing away from the camera, and James is facing the camera towards you. And that is meant to communicate that this mannequin dressed in his wife's clothes is shining a light to James. That is foreshadowing that is a message. It is saying, "Look at you, James. Look at you." But now in Silent Hill 2 remake, you walk into the room and say, "Oh, your flashlight. Pick it up." Pick it up. It's just a video game now. You know. Um, when there was a chase sequence when Pyramid Head is chasing you, it's not scary when you can't see Pyramid Head at all behind you. Versus you're walking down the hallway and suddenly he just appears like behind you, like and you have to mess with that camera. Uh, but Silent Hill 2 remake also did a chase sequence that was excellent. It added a whole chase sequence at the end of the game with Angela, and that was a masterful sequence that masterfully used the actual camera perspective that they were using to unique ways. Where it's like, oh, now I'm seeing things from a different perspective, and the horror is still retained, and it's enhancing the story and the background of this character. Um, which is why, like, Bloober Team are clearly talented, but like I think that they did a good job adapting someone else's work,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's the thing too of where I I have that same level of worry if they ever do a remake of not Bloober Team doing a remake, but like just in general a remake of Resident Evil 1 in the same style that Resident Evil 2 and 3 are in, because number one, the camera
Exactly.
angles, you know, the camera
Exactly. Exactly.
angles.
Exactly.
It's one of those
Exactly. So you
things,
get it. Yeah.
like it's one of
That's
those
exactly
things
it.
too of where, like, if I'm going to see Resident Evil 1 remake of the remake of the remake, I'm going to want to see it in a way of where it conveys the story accurately. Like, that was one of my biggest worries walking into Silent Hill 2. I ended up loving Silent Hill 2. They put in some new puzzles, they added some new things that really stood out to me, but one of the things that again, what you were saying, like, was the camera angles. It was like one way that it conveyed the story in the original is going to be perceived an entirely different way in the remake.
So I'm like mildly excited about Silent Hill One remake just because it's a cool story, and I like to relive that story. And that is old enough that I think it definitely could use a touching up for sure. But I'd be a lot happier with it if Konami would just re-release a Silent Hill Master Collection, like they did with
That would
Metal
be
Gear Solid
amazing.
or with Castlevania. Like Konami has actually been doing a decent job, remastering or re just re-releasing their older games, and I have no problem with re-releases. I think re-releases are important to the industry. The movies see re-releases all the time. Books get new editions to get republished all the time. That is just a process of preserving art and preserving art in perpetuity. Uh, so re-releases there's nothing ethically wrong with re-releases at all. They should be happening more. And I don't understand why. Well, I understand why Konami's doing that because Silent Hill doesn't sell that well. Silent Hill is barely sells a million sometimes.
Yeah,
So
and that was whenever, people were telling me, like, after what was it, after I played Silent Hill 4 The Room, they were like, oh, you have to play the first game, and it's like, how am I supposed to do that? Tell me
yeah,
what
exactly.
world am I supposed to do that? And then they were like,
Awful.
mod it. I'm like, isn't that illegal? And they were like, no, just go ahead and mod it on your PC. I found out, for anyone who wants to mod Silent Hill 1, use DuckStation, and there's also a free website that I'm going to link down in the description below that you could just play it in your browser for free. It's absolutely
Oh,
wonderful. Yeah, it's
no
amazing.
kidding.
I love it so
Oh,
much. And I was able to, like, I go through there. Silent Hill 1 has become my cozy game that I just go into that browser and I play it for free. It's wonderful. There are some games on that website that will play for free, and they're just older games. Like, I found where you can even mod Scooby-Doo Night of a Thousand Frights, and that was a game I used to play as a kid all the time. So
awesome.
with DuckStation, you go in, you actually can utilize the stuff in the DuckStation to what controller you are using and map out the control system there. So it's really beneficial, and with the way I was able to play it for the first time, and I absolutely loved it. Like, the way that they were able to encapsulate horror, and this goes into the next topic that I want to discuss, is something of where a lot of younger generations saw because it was something that was new to them.
Mm.
Why? Like, not really why, but there is this shift, I think, that's happening in horror of where we're not finding things as scary as we used to. Do you think there is more of a move towards psychological horror, more of the subtleties instead of the jump scares now?
I mean, it goes back and forth. There's space for both, right? But yeah, I think it was PT, the Kojima's PT project that really kind of reignited that shift back in 2014. PT inspired so many other first person horror games right now, which is funny because it's just an hour long demo. But that's Hideo Kojima's impact that he just flirts with a little genre and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, he changed the whole game. Which is so fascinating to see. So yeah, and that's why like even Resident Evil Village, like they had a whole segment that was PT like, and that was definitely like scary, and it didn't involve like jump scares or monsters like jumping on the closet or whatever. Um, but I think there's room for both. Part of the I have a complicated relationship with Silent Hill because I love Silent Hill very much, but like I don't want the series to continue. I think the series should have ended at Silent Hill 4 and just ended there. I think more video game brands should just be able to come out and say, no, we're done with the story. We finished it. Metal Gear Solid 5 was the last one. and I hope you had fun. You know, Mass Effect 3. That was the end of the story. You know, that was a great time, wasn't it? I think we should be able to do stuff like that and not make turn everything into Star Wars, where there's an episode 9. You know, um, and just to keep things in perpetuity. You know, I'm like Silent Hill F looks pretty good, and I'm mildly interested in it because the writer is good. I'm a little turned off by the implications that it's gonna have to do with like sexual assault. That's triggering for me. So it's like I kind of don't want to. I don't really want to deal with that. But that's a personal problem for me. I'm not really you know, I know this is interesting to a lot of people, so I don't mean to poo-poo on anyone's excitement, but it's not that interesting to me to have Silent Hill, but in like this town, Silent Hill, but this in this town. I think Silent Hill should just be Silent Hill. That's it.
It's
You know?
interesting that you bring that up because I want to play devil's advocate for a moment. Actually, the whenever I see Silent Hill, I see the psychology of what Silent Hill could possibly represent, and we look at James's trauma, for example, and the trauma that he inflicted, the trauma that he experienced. We see Angela, we see all these different characters that are in Silent Hill experiencing their own personal hell, kind of like how you have your own personal beach in Death Stranding. So I always
Yeah,
look
exactly.
at the Silent Hill series as something of where the person who is the protagonist is experiencing their own Silent Hill. So that's my view on it personally, because I think that all these different Silent Hill games, it doesn't have to be a story necessarily that linearly lines up with everything. It just has to make sense that it is within the world of their own living hell.
Yeah, but the issue is that Silent Hill has been doing that with Silent Hill Downpour and Silent Hill Homecoming. Like, and those games were bad, you know.
Oh, I loved Homecoming.
Because they keep trying to they keep trying to repeat what they did with James, and it just doesn't work. Because you know, another part of the issue for me, and it kind of goes back to your original question was, you know, psychological horror, the shift to psychological horror, is that like I think a lot of games already do this now. I think a lot of games are already about someone's personal trauma or personal hell. You look at a game like Persona 5, and like every dungeon in that game is about that boss's like personal hell or personal trauma or whatever, you know. So like a lot of video games are already exploring the are already walk through the door that Silent Hill 2 opened. Silent Hill 2 was a groundbreaking game back in 2001, and or whatever year it came out. But that's like over 20 years ago now, you know. And since that time, the game has already inspired so many other games to kind of do the same thing. You know, I played Mouthwashing. Have you played that one?
I've heard of it. I haven't played it yet.
That to me is the best written game of the last like 5 years, and it's a 3 hour 3 hour game that's clearly inspired by Silent Hill, and like I think it's better than Silent Hill, much better than Silent Hill. You know, so it's like I'm already getting games that are like Silent Hill that are better than Silent Hill. So it's like I don't need Silent Hill to be Silent Hill anymore. Silent Hill already did its thing. But I realize that I'm in a minority, and I always get ratioed. This is why I never tweeted, because Silent Hill fans are like, no, we want more Silent Hill. Why most of the Silent Hill games are bad, but I know that they can make another good one. And it's like guess I guess we'll give Silent Hill F a shot, and we'll see how that is. But we haven't really had a good one in a long time. That's the issue. 2 is a remake. You know, 2 just did the thing that we already liked. You know.
Yeah, I feel like it's such a like a little off of my own hole because I absolutely loved Homecoming, and that was one of the games of where it was like, oh my god, this story is so heartbreaking, but it's so good.
Homecoming was fun. Homecoming was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I didn't like the story, but I thought it was a pretty fun game. So
Yeah, and it's interesting too
I've been kind of
because
wanting to
like,
play it, replay it again recently, actually.
oh,
So
okay. Yeah. See, and that's the
yeah,
thing of where like you get these instant jolts of like I want to replay this or I want to go into this, but there's so many games. There's not
yeah, there's
enough
too many
time.
games.
Okay, there's only 24 hours in a day, and most of it I just want to fall asleep. Like,
Yeah, you know, like yeah, going back to like I feel crazy like going to playing Death Stranding too, where everything is like nice and quiet, and then like it's like, oh, let me jump in my friends in Mario Kart World and scream for 3 hours. You know,
right.
it's exhausting. So
That's when I realized and that I was also an introvert because it's just like why am I exhausted about like just the most minor interaction sometimes with people? Like I really have to like get myself ready and prepared and it's like okay, I'm about to interact with people, I'm about to do the thing and then it's just like
mm.
no, I just want to have food and go to sleep.
Yeah, yeah. I realized this when I started like doing like hosting events in Hawaii. And I'll like get on stage and get on a mic or whatever like that, and it would be no problem. I would not be nervous beforehand. But after I would do that, I would just like disappear for a few days, and I was like, "Why am I like this?" And I was like, "Oh wait, I think I'm an introvert." You know, I think I don't want to talk to anyone after I talk to that many people. You know,
Oh
I have
yeah.
to recharge.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. I completely commiserate and understand that entirely because it's like if after the event that I went to, I spent like a good few days just in my own world, in my own space. I was playing the games I wanted to play. I was working on stuff,
beautiful.
obviously, but it was just like, no, I can't talk to anyone right now. And some of my friends were like, "Where are you?" And it's like, I am recharging. Excuse me.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I disappear from the world for sure.
Yeah, it's why I've disappeared a lot from social media of where it's like I will only post selectively about certain things because A, I don't want to get the constant harassment anymore. I'm done with that. But
Mm.
also it's the fact of where like my energy and my time have become so incredibly valuable that it's just like if I want to share that with people, it has to be pretty damn good for me to want to share it.
Hmm.
Like, so I don't know. I think the more that we've just been in this industry, like before I would share and post about anything and everything, but I think after I got people attacking me from grums, that's when everything just
Oh,
changed
that's
for
awful. I'm
me.
sorry about that. That's
Yeah.
so stupid.
Well, I got put
Yeah.
on Smash JT's list on his website. So it was, yeah, it was one of those situations for like, I kept people calling my house. I still get people like, on Twitter and everything where I'll just have to, I'm not on Twitter anymore. So I'll just
Mhm.
block a bunch of people that I see posting nasty shit and
That's
everything.
so garbage. I'm sorry about
So,
that. Yeah, those guys are clowns. Yeah.
yeah. They have a group of gaggling, clacking geese content creators and journalists, and it's like, okay, like, do you need to go home or something and just relax, have a Snickers, it'll be fine.
Hmm.
Like, yeah,
That's
but
that's the thing about online. It's just like everyone's just like weaponizing comments, and it's just everything is bad. This is not the internet I grew up with. The internet is so much worse. Google barely works. You know, Windows is always trying to force Copilot into everything now, and all these stupid updates. Twitter X is barely working too sometimes. It's just all very very bad. So I totally don't blame you. I'm terminally online, so that's why I still post. But I definitely am disengaging a lot more for sure. So, again, I don't post about Silent Hill because I'm tired of people like getting mad at me about Silent Hill. It's just a goddamn video game. Just calm down.
it's just pixels. It's literally like really good looking
Yeah.
pixels. Like people get so mad over plastic boxes, and it's just like there is so much more to life. There's so much more that's going on. And like just to get on this tangent for a second because I feel like it's something we need to talk about. As people who cover not only the culture, we cover games, we cover a lot of things that are going on in the industry. What is one thing that has shocked you about humanity when you got into this space?
Nothing really, because I used to cover politics, and politics is filled with terrible people. So I think I mean it's only reinforced how some people just don't ever grow up. That people still have like this very like high school mentality, or this elementary school mentality of cliques and bullying, and thinking about things so narrowly, and thinking that your world should be the rest of the world's opinions. Um, it's but that's the hell that like my background is in being a social media pro. I help companies grow their social media. Like Uber. Like I help Uber start out actually in Hawaii, and stuff like that. So, but I was really worried. Like, and you can find articles like of me back then in like 2009, 2010, like worrying. Like I really worry about the algorithms and like where things are going, because we're it's like what Kojima said in Metal Gear Solid 2. Is like we're just building these echo chambers of like people who agree with each other. So it's not healthy when like people who are growing up online only see opinions that reflect their worldview, and then so now suddenly when you meet other people, or when you have where your opinions will clash with other people and online, you just don't see that, and you're just like, why is the world like this? Why are you like this? And it's like, because we are all different people. We all have different backgrounds and different circumstances.
Yeah, and that's the thing I wish too of where like it's okay for people to disagree. Like there's no harm in being, having a diversity of thought. There's no harm in that
Mhm.
whatsoever, and I think that's what a lot of people unfortunately fear. It's gotten to a point of where if someone says something wrong and they get corrected on it, they get angry instead of taking the
Mhm.
correction in and applying it. Like there's so many
Exactly.
instances of where, gosh, I can like I'll use this conversation as an example of where I said that I spoke misinformation. I could have been like one of those other YouTubers and been like, "Oh my god, I get backlash, angry, all this kind of stuff." But
Mhm.
no, you take a correction, you apply
Mhm.
it, and then that's it. Like so many people
That that
want to take it as an insult. It's not a personal insult. It's literally a discussion.
that's that's what being a trained journalist does. And you can ask any editor that I work with. I am not precious about my words or my article. If someone wants to change something, I'm like, okay, just change it then. No big deal. I'm not married to it. This is it. This is my life's work. Like it's an article. Just change it and let's publish it. But I think a lot of people sometimes struggle with that, accepting criticism. Whereas for me, like I've just been numb to it. I've been doing it for so long that it doesn't matter to me. Just publish it.
Oh,
Let's go.
oh yeah, yeah. And sometimes information can be dated. Information can not hold up the way it used to. So like an article that someone writes 5 years ago won't hold up the same way it does now.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah, exactly.
So
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's part of growing up. Again, that's part of growing up, as opposed to like being stuck in this high school mentality or this elementary school mentality. Where you think the world is just your oyster, and everything is around it. But I don't blame people. COVID really screwed people's brains up. I think the lockdown. I think a lot of people, especially younger people, grew up in that environment of like just only being online, and like we're kind of seeing the ramifications of that right now, where people are antisocial. They're not having sex. They don't know how to talk to women or other people. And it's like, because you never really learned, because you were stuck inside, and Trump or Biden were telling you that if you go outside, people are going to die, and people did die. So it's been a crazy world, and right now we're kind of seeing the cause and effect of what's happened.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, there was a lot of fear going around. There was a lot of just so much unfortunate things that were happening in the culture. And not only that, like medically, just so much that was happening. And now people are finally starting to come out of the woodwork a little bit and experience life. But then they were kind of, like you were said, like they don't know how to, at a certain degree. It's like, how do I talk to this person? How do I integrate myself back into the culture of humanity? And that, I think,
Mm,
is the most difficult thing. One of the things that it made me think of, which is one of the next thing I wanted to talk about with you, was kind of the community and the hype surrounding video games and events. So there was one thing that I noticed of whenever Tears of the Kingdom released, there was an entire line outside the door for GameStop. It was one of the things that really warmed my heart because I haven't seen that in a very long time. Like that was the first instance that I saw of community again, IRL, in years. And
yeah.
I feel like Nintendo Switch was another instance of where people were lined outside the door. People were getting there like for midnight releases and everything. I haven't seen a midnight release in over 10 years. Like ever
Mhm.
since Tears of the Kingdom. I know it hasn't been that long.
Mhm.
But it's one of those things of where has that, not necessarily the hype, but where has that essence of like childhood wonder gone, do you think?
Because everything's online. You just get everything online. So that just the internet has ruined so many things. Honestly, I really wish we could wind some functions of the internet back. That's just not possible, because it's literally Pandora's box that opened. But it really ruined a lot of things. It ruined the movie theater going experience. So now the only movies that come out in movie theaters are Marvel movies, and Mission Impossible movies. You can't get we keep always talking about, like, where are the double A games? You can't get the double A comedy movie anymore in the theaters. That doesn't happen anymore. The $20 million comedy movie, that's gone. It goes back again to what I was saying about the algorithms and everything like that. And this is what I was like like lamenting way back then. It was like the internet ruins serendipity in life. Just the randomness of finding new things and finding new people. And discovering it and being, oh, I did not expect this. I wasn't searching for it, but here it is. Um, when I started hearing about colleges letting people apply to their dorm, and then students can pick, oh, I want a roommate with this kind of belief. I want a roommate who's like this. We're optimizing our lives to a degree that is unhealthy, because again, that limits yourself to only people that you want that you think you only want to see. Whereas like the randomness and serendipity of life is what made humanity grow. The fact that we had to learn from each other, and we had to confront each other's fears and disagreements. Um, and that's just, oh, there's Jack right now. Just summoned him. And then the fact that we just don't get that anymore. Here he is.
Hi, Jack.
Yeah. And then so that's just made it awful, and so that's why it's nice. And I was there at the New York City premiere for Tears of the Kingdom. Like Doug Bowser was there and everything like that. And that was like shortly after I got better from my cancer journey. So it was such like a wonderful, wonderful experience for me to go outside, go to New York City and then like Manhattan and just like be recognized by people. Like it was crazy. Like as I'm walking down the line and people like, yo, is that Gene Park? Oh my God, it's good to see you out and about, bro. Blah blah blah. It was so awesome, and I love that, love that, and that was serendipity. I just met a whole bunch of people that I had no idea who they were, but they knew who I was, and they introduced themselves to me, and that was so fun and so great, and I miss that. I miss the randomness of life. I don't want life to be optimized, but that's what a lot of people. But optimization is great. It's very comfortable. I order from Amazon all the time too. I don't go to the store, but think about all the people I could have met at the store instead.
It's one of those
Um,
things, and I'm gonna just share like a brief story with you about it because you just reminded me of it, of where like I'm gonna be 33 this year in October, and it's one of the things of where I've seen technology grow, as have you. You and I have both seen this boom in technology of where it's helped a lot of people. It's helped medical devices. It's helped, cancer research. It's helped so much. And it's also been humanity's, like you were saying, it's a lot of humanity's downfall as well. There's a lot of things that I remember when I was a kid of where my mom used to work in Manhattan in the dental industry. And she used to do deliveries there back and forth almost every day. I was homeschooled up until I was like 13 years old. And I would go with her, and we would do homeschooling while I was in the car, and she was doing the deliveries. And I got to see Manhattan. I got to see the fashion district. I got to see so much of what made me fall in love with the city. And she instilled in me of whenever she was in doing like deliveries, she's like, you have your phone on you, which is like a Nokia. It would literally break the toilet before it would break the phone. And you have your phone on you. Anything you need, just call me, but I want you to walk around. I want you to see the city. I want you to explore. And we were in Chinatown for most of it, and then we would go over to NYU. And because of it, I got to meet so many strangers who were wonderful. I got to meet so many people just by happenstance, hearing their stories, seeing people who had completely like blacked out bodysuit tattoos, like getting to see humanity, whether good, bad, whatever it was there, it was right in front of you. And now I feel like so many kids don't have that. A, because of COVID, what happened, and B, because of a lot of the fear that the government has instilled. Rightfully so, because there's a lot of shit that's happening, but also there's so much unnecessary fear mongering that a lot of people outside of politics are doing that create this bubble of, I can't go anywhere because it's going to be unsafe. If you eat carrots, you're gonna die still. If you do this, you're still going to die someday. But at least have the experience of life in order to understand that it's not all bad. There's parts of it that are absolutely beautiful too.
yeah. When I when I see like all these like weirdos like talk about women and like, oh, women are like this and women are like that, and it's like, well, it's because you've only met a few women. You should be meeting more women. or like, oh, trans people are like this, and it's like, well, if you have like more trans friends, then you would understand like that lifestyle more too, But it's just people are just so restricted in their worldview these days, and it's crazy and it's sad to see, and nobody wants to learn, which is why again it goes back to how people are just children these days, nobody wants to learn anything, that's why, like, I commend you for, like, like being like, oh, I made that mistake, let me learn from this, that's what a journalist does, I always say that the thing about being a journalist is that you need to the thing that makes me so mad about journalists, actually, and it is not games journalists, this is beyond, like, just journalism in general, is that we like to come off as like experts on things, and it's like that is like the wrong way to do it. Like, journalists are not supposed to be experts. We're supposed to be the students of life. We're supposed to be learning always. We should not be a master of this or a master of that or a legal analyst of this or political expert of that. We're supposed to be the one asking the questions and learning and then communicating that to people. The whole point of being a journalist is that we're not the expert. We're journalists. That's it.
We're investigating. We're trying to seek out something to add to the equation, not try to solve it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's the thing too, and I completely agree with your statement. It's one of the beautiful things about understanding not just the world, but like the kind of the niche that we're in, and seeing it kind of like, oh gosh, have you seen the movie The Fiddler's Roof? Or the Fiddler
No.
on the Roof, I think it's called.
Oh
Fiddler,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fiddler on the Roof,
Yeah.
the Fiddler's Roof, and we're kind of like the Fiddler on the Roof in the way where we're watching and we're purveying and we're understanding. We're not exactly like going in and saying, "Oh, okay, I understand this, I understand that." There's some journalists who do that, but all of us are just trying to understand and see the world and then report on it, basically. So.
Yeah, we're not supposed to be telling, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. If you want to do that, then go do the job that allows for that. Uh, if you want to change politics, then be a politician. Which is what my friend is doing. Kaba Gazelia, she's running for Congress in Chicago, and she used to be a journalist, and she said, I want to change the world. And it's like, okay, well, she's running for Congress now to try to do that. And it's like, just do that then. To be the change you want to see. Don't be a journalist. Journalists don't do anything.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because I've had friends of mine tell me that you're a journalist, you get to impact so many people's train of thoughts and everything like that. It's like, I don't do that. Like, I just put my
No, don't do
opinion
that.
out there. I put my opinion out there, and if people want to follow opinions or they want to take from it, that's their choice. I'm just putting my opinion out there because I love the gaming industry, I'm passionate about it, and I want to speak my mind on it. That's it. I'm not trying to change any people's minds.
Yeah. That reminds me, like, one of my best girlfriends, Shira Stein. She's the congressional reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle. She just quit so she can go to veterinarian school, so she can become a vet and take care of animals. And when she told me that, I was like, "Look at you, Shira! Look at you actually making a real impact on people's lives. A real impact on people's families and how they love." That is so valuable and true, and I'm so proud of her. And she's gone off to school and do that stuff. And she's still young. She's younger than you, you know. And I think that's just wonderful. So that's exactly what she's doing. She's being the change she wants to see. She was reporting on Congress, and it's like, this is nothing. She has a White House press pass, and it's just like, this is nothing. I wanna actually help people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's
That's what she's
interesting
doing.
that you mentioned that because I was actually having a conversation with my family about journalism and kind of the not only the toll that it takes emotionally, but one of the things of where it's like you constantly have to either risk being canceled, doxxed, or any of the above if you share your opinion. And they were like, well, if you had the choice, what other profession would you go into? And I was like, easily go back into psychology. I would try to help people's mentality because all I would have to do is do
Interesting.
yeah.
Country singer for me. That would be my ideal job. I would like to be a country singer.
A country
So,
singer? I love that so
country singer.
much.
I would like to sing country music like Joel in The Last of Us.
Yes, I love that so much. I love that. Oh my gosh.
When he said that way back in 2013, I was like, I want to sing country. I was like, hey, he's just like me for real.
Yes, I love that. I love that so much. Oh my god. You see, follow your
Yeah.
dreams, kids. It's like Nike. Just do
Yeah.
it.
you know, but you're so right about journalism. You know, it's so exhausting to have like a public facing like job where like everything you do is like just under the scrutiny of every single asshole out there. You know, and if you fail, then everyone can just laugh at you. You know, and it's like that's part of the gig. You know, that's what I'm here for. You know, and I was being stalked and harassed way back in like 2008, 2009. Like you go to my Facebook and you see a mail that I used to get from like these crazy people calling me, you know, like a pig and like, you know, like blah blah blah, and like, I'm forgetting all the names, but it's like I started to get all these like weirdo like mail from people, you know, just because I was a print journalist, you know, and it's only gotten worse since then. So you
Yeah,
know, it's
it's
it's exhausting work. So I don't envy anyone who's trying to get into this field either.
and the thing is, you guys, I just want to make absolutely like one thing abundantly clear is that we don't hate our jobs. We just find them exhausting a lot of the time. Like, we're very fortunate to be in the positions that we are, right? We are very lucky and we are very blessed to be able to do what we do for a living. Like, I absolutely love being a video editor. I love being a journalist. But we also have to talk about the reality of the situation in the same token.
Talk about my health anymore, you know, which is awful because like you, like a lot of people like found a lot of value and hope in that. And I enjoy doing that, but for my own mental health, I stopped doing it because it's like I need to protect myself. You know, Chadwick Boseman, you know, the Black Panther, he actually went through treatments that I went through. He died, of course, right? But he had colon cancer. He went through treatments that I did, and when I found out about that, I was like, oh, I wish he spoke up more publicly about it. And then I thought about it. I was like, but I totally get why he didn't, though, because fuck that, you know, like it sucks. And he was trying to live his own life, and people were like saying like, "Oh, look at how skinny he is. He must be on drugs or meth or whatever with that." It's like, no, man, he's dying, man. But look at how you already talk about him. It's pathetic, you know.
Yeah, it is, and
It's awful.
people don't really think empathetically a lot of the time. They
No.
think about the next 2 minutes of fame or the next 5 minutes of like instant gratification of saying the word, and it's like, oh, you're so fucking edgy. Like, no,
Mhm.
it's one of the, I think, the most horrifying aspects that we've seen. Whether it's AI, whether it's bots, whatever the case may be, if these people aren't real, who knows? It's flabbergasting to me how like actual human beings can say some of the things
Mhm.
that they do.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
that blows my mind,
No,
honestly.
they're like brain dead animals who can't think for more than the second that they're in and the second that they're about to enter. That's it. You know.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's definitely.
That's the whole worldview is whatever the second is right now and whatever makes him feel good. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
stupid.
And it's insane, but I always have to, kind of remind myself that a lot of those people are like NPCs. Once I turn my computer off, they're gone.
Yeah, they're gone. They're gone. It's just like what Tyler the Creator said. It's like how is cyberbullying real? Just look away from the screen, dude. And it's like, yeah, yeah, that can work too. I mean, sometimes it's real. Like you know, like I've had people like stalk me here in DC, you know, which is scary. So like I have to be careful about that. You know.
Yeah, please stay safe. That's not fun at all to deal with. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
My gosh. Oh my gosh. But Gina, I do have to say thank you so much for being on the podcast with me. It was an absolute wonderful time getting to chat with you about games, life, just everything in general.
A lot of things we talked about. Yeah, it was a lot of tangents, but I had fun.
I did too. Is there anything else that you want to discuss about like any of the games that you're covering right now, or are there ones that you can't necessarily? I know you said you're playing Death Stranding 2 right now, but I know there's other games you probably can't discuss.
Yeah, just look forward to that review next week. And I don't know. I think I'm just gonna take a break for a bit, you know, and just sign off and just kind of chill for a little bit and figure out what to do next in life. But yeah, that's about it right now. But you know, yeah, I'm very happy to see you thriving. You know, you freelancing for IGN and you went to your first event. Like that's all really cool stuff, and it's really been nice to see your trajectory over the years.
Oh,
So
thank you. Yeah, it's been just a real blessing to get to just do what I love. Honestly, as annoying as it is
yeah,
sometimes, you guys, I love it so much. I wouldn't trade it for
it's
the
very
world.
annoying. But yeah, look, like, I'm not gonna complain too loudly, man. I got to play Death Stranding too early. It's that's a great privilege, and it feels nice, you know. Um,
Yeah, it really it's
that's
such
fun.
a it's such a wonderful thing to be able to to see how this industry goes, and this is the kind of the last point I'll make on it, of where it's like we can't possibly play all the games in the world, right? But there are just certain titles and there are certain things of where it's like while we're on this planet, they make our lives so much better, you know? So I think
Well, you can go see my pinned tweet on X, but later I met Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario and Zelda and Donkey Kong, and that was just such a huge moment for me because I've only like emailed interviewed him before, never actually got to meet the man himself. So it was such an honor and privilege for me to meet him in person and see him and tell him like you've been like a father to me, my whole life. You've been there my whole life, and it's crazy that I'm finally here, getting a chance to talk to you. So thank you for everything that you've done for my life. Um, and and like that's like a little weird for me as a journalist to say because I know that there's supposed to be a barrier between whatever you're covering and who you are, but that's not what like arts being in the arts is. I'm obviously gonna be biased on some things. I'm gonna love Death Stranding too and Kojima because I'm already biased to love that stuff. So there's a balance there, and I thought it was important for me to say that to Miyamoto because life is short for all of us, including him and me. So. I thought it was really a really nice chance, and then I finally got to meet him. We did a beautiful photo shoot, so go check out that piece if you guys want to learn more about a conversation. We talked about Donkey Kong a lot, so
that is awesome. And actually, before we leave, there is one question I want to ask. What is your dream interview? I know you probably already had it with him, but what is your dream interview to have someday?
my dream interview would be Bob Dylan, the most influential songwriter of the 20th century. He's still alive. He's very old, and he is the last person I would love to interview like and meet in person because he is probably the most important person in my life. He's influenced me in every single way, and he's still alive. The other person would be Kurt Cobain of Nirvana, but he died obviously back in 1981, 1994. So, um, Bob Dylan would be my dream interview, but he's also notoriously a difficult interview. So that would be like a fun little challenge for me. He was talking smack about the press back in the 1960s. So like I would just love to be able to be subject to that. But in terms of games, there's not really anyone left. Like I pretty much hit everyone I want to interview. Maybe no one really in games. Yeah, I think I hit it all. Shinji Mikami would be a great one. The creator of Resident Evil. I would love to meet him. Um, I don't really have a lot to ask him. I think so. That's why like he doesn't come to top of mind of like what I want to interview with him for. You know, because I don't know what it would be about, especially since he's not that active anymore too.
Yeah, on
Um,
social media especially, I know that he's like passed on the gauntlet to other younger developers and everything.
exactly, yeah. But I would like to meet him, and he is one of my favorite creators of all time. So Yutaka Miyazaki is a good one, but like I'm not that interested in like interviewing him that much because he's done a lot of interviews and he's revealed a lot of himself already. So it's like that like I feel like that's already been done. I interviewed Kojima. GQ just did a beautiful profile of Kojima that I'm quite jealous of. I did a great interview with him back in 2019, but I've been wanting to talk to him, Kojima, about his views on death because he's been obsessing about his death a lot, and that's exactly what the GQ profile was. And I was like, God damn it! Like they got him before I did. That was exactly the story I wanted. Um,
I need to read
but
that.
I've already interviewed and profiled him before, so like the jealousy is like muted somewhat. But it's like I wish I got that story too with out of him.
Yeah, that's actually it's interesting because that's my dream interview is getting to interview him Kojima at some point in my career
Mhm.
and getting to interview Troy Baker.
I would like to spend a day with Troy. I would like to hang out with Troy. Troy is another one that would be fun, and I would like to interview him too, because he is kind of like the leading man of the games industry, and he does have like a lot of interest in a lot of other things. And he's also a fun guy. I've met him before. We met a bunch of times actually, and we're good pals in that regard. So I think it would be a fun, interesting piece to have like a day with Troy Baker type story. You know.
Day in the life daily vlog of Troy Baker and Gene
Exactly.
Park.
Yeah. 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 You know,
Yeah.
we wake up, we go to lunch together, we'll get breakfast. You know, go do this or do that. You know, it'd just be fun. So. Of course, I would love to do that with Kojima too. You know, just go out and eat some sushi with him and everything like that. Oh, I'm so hungry for sushi. I think I might get some after this.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about
So,
Chinese food right now. My God, there's a 20 minutes away from me. There's a good Chinese food place. I'm just like, oh, I might get that right now.
I was also thinking about Chinese food earlier earlier as we were talking, but now that I mentioned sushi, I'm like, I think I go for some sushi too.
Do it. Treat
But
yourself.
yeah, but I would love to just go out and have sushi. You know, I'm sober now. I used to be an alcoholic, but like if Kojima wanted to have a beer with me, I would try to deal with it, and I would have a beer. So,
It's interesting you mentioned that. I'm 9 years sober this May. So,
oh, congratulations! We've been about sober about the same amount because I quit like in 2000. I quit in 2018, so it's been about 7 years for me. So,
okay, 2016, college graduation was my first day sober in 2016. So,
wow, you started very very early. That's good for you. See, so that's why, like, when I talk about high school mentality, like, that's me. Like, I'm also like criticizing myself because it took me a long time, and maybe I'm still in it, but like, it took me a long to kind of like grow out of certain phases, including like, you know, just getting shit faced drunk all the time. You
yeah,
know,
same.
like it wasn't until I was like 35 or 36 that really started to kind of like, well, I really started to slow down like around 33, 34, like before I moved to DC. Um, and then when I moved to DC, I wanted to continue that going, but I was like, I don't think I can keep this going. I don't know, so I'm getting much older too, so
You know,
I can't do this.
I was using it to deal with my problems and everything, and I realized that, because one thing happening after the other, breaking up with my ex, real like seeing him cheat on me, all that kind of stuff. It just
Oh my god,
yeah,
yeah, totally.
it was just like
Oh my god, like a huge reason why I became an alcoholic was because I was cheating all the time. So
yeah, it was just no, it was just I'm not gonna deal with that. It was
yeah,
one of the biggest things in my life of where the biggest wake up call in the world was getting sober and just staying that way for 9 years. It was, I think, probably besides being in game journalism, one of my biggest accomplishments. Not to toot my own
yeah, yeah,
horn.
yeah. No, I'm very proud of it too. I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of myself for doing it because it's tough and
It's a big deal to take
um
that kind of a leap and just completely like get out of your comfort zone and just be healthy for your own betterment and everything.
it's also tough because like the journalism field and also the games industry loves to drink. You know, so many industry. That was your first industry event, so the more you go, the more you'll see. You know, maybe they're toning this down because there's all of these allegations and incidents of sexual assault and harassment and pestering people, pestering women, especially, of course, for that. So maybe the industry will start learning. But like a big problem is that like so many of these like networking events are like alcohol fueled, and it's like
That's one of the reasons
it's
why I
tough.
was like, no, if there's like an after party or something, I'm just gonna order vegan food and go back to the hotel. I'm not gonna deal with that because it would be too
That's
much of
what I
a
do now.
temptation for me.
That's what I do now. So.
Yeah, it's so cool to have like a like-minded person understand that because it's like so much of our culture and society, which I'm so tempted to write a piece on this because so much of our culture is so kind of engrossed in the aftertime of drinking as a social aspect of where we
Mhm,
can't enjoy one another's company without getting shit-faced. Like, oh,
mhm,
that shouldn't have to be the case.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I find myself a more listening person, and now that I'm not shit faced drunk all the time, and I one of my favorite things about Cyberpunk 2077 is that you can play the game sober. Everyone is always offering you drinks in that game, and you always have the option. Speaking of option, like player options, going back to that, you always have the option to say no, thanks, I'm good, or just a water, or I have a club soda or something like that instead. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, with Resident Evil, I think they're starting to go down the rabbit hole of at least with 7, 8 the games. They were starting to be like, okay, these are new stories. It's still the same like T virus, but it's like different characters, different story, and everything.
Yeah, and
But
nine is diving right back into the story, which I love. So,
exactly,
but I think it's about
yeah.
time to exercise those demons.
I
So I'm
was
very excited for nine.
Yeah, one thing that I'm very excited for. I know we didn't talk much about Requiem, but one thing I'm very excited for is the possibility of the series being done almost. Like, I really want, and this might be a hot take for some people, but I really want the Resident Evil series to be done. I want it to end its life cycle because it's like the Rocky movies. We need to cut it off. Yeah.
It's like how I feel about Silent Hill. And you know
Yeah.
what? I'll stand on business. Resident Evil is my favorite series, but I support you in that. You know, I would if the Capcom said right now this is the last Resident Evil, I'll be like, cool,
Yeah.
awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah, but you know, if they don't at least bring back Rebecca in some capacity, like mentioning Billy, come on. Like, Resident Evil Zero was my personal favorite Resident Evil game.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. It's not my favorite, but I do love Rebecca and Billy. They were great characters, and they definitely deserve another. Rebecca especially, she deserves another chance
Yeah.
at something.
Yeah.
Jill too, man. For Christ's sake, you know?
Right.
It's been so long since we've had a good Jill outing too.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. If we're like, I will make a prediction right now that there is going to be one more Resident Evil after this, and then they are going to call it quits on the series. They're going to cap it off.
Maybe call it quits at X, Resident Evil X, Mr. X. Hey,
Yeah,
there you go.
exactly. And they might like,
Hey. Yeah, I'm not done with 9, but like I think if they can wrap up 9 and then like finish it off strong in 10, like bring back Rebecca and Jill, you know.
Exactly.
Then,
I actually had a prediction about that, of where they would bring back kind of the old cast of where they would all reunite, but back at the Spencer Mansion. And that would cap off and bring like Aristotelian unity to the series, and then that would be
beautiful. I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that.
It would make all the millennials very happy.
Yes. Let's close out the story. I agree with you. I'm actually I haven't even thought about that because it's Capcom. Capcom never finishes anything, so it's like
No.
but now that you introduced that thought into my head, I was like, no, I'm actually super comfortable with that idea.
And you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna tweet it after this podcast. They need to end it off.
Be careful.
They need to just end it off. One of the reasons why, and I need to give more of a substance to my theory of why I think they're going to end it off there, is so people understand. It's like, we've had this game series since the late 90s, early 2000s, right? So it's been going on for almost 30 years at this point. And it's one of the beautiful things of where they've been able to keep the story going, but I was starting to see inklings of them falling off the edge a little bit with 6. They could have
Six was a complete disaster story wise, you know.
Yeah. They could have compiled all of the character stories into one game and then do like a mercenaries mode with different characters and everything at the very end. But then we see 7 brought into play, they're reinventing the series, reinventing the characters, and then 8 reinvented a lot of the way they did stuff. 9 is bringing it back home in a way of where I feel like, oh, this is the end, because you see a closing out of a chapter with Raccoon City Police Department being in shrouds.
Yeah. I think they're gonna go. I think we might even go back to the mansion this time. You know, who knows? So
if they do, I'm gonna you'll hear me all the way from New York.
Yeah.
Like so. But you guys, again, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Ian. It was absolutely wonderful getting to chat with you and geek out about games and talk about the reality of journalism. It was great to talk with you again.
You too, Ariel. I appreciate it. Thanks for giving me your platform.
Of course. And if you guys like our faces and what we do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. May your coffee treat you well and life give you a nat 20. I will see you all in the next one. Bye, you guys.